Hi there. Hey there. Hello there. Grab a drink, grab a snack, and sit down and listen to a tale of a life that you can be thankful isn't yours. I am going to discuss the second admission that I had. It occurred exactly 1 month after the first admission, but the admission was, the second one was epic. I expect to get calls from Steven Spielberg, Coppola, some pretty hardcore directors and actors to make this into a movie, because it's one that is really one for the ages, and I lived it, and it still shocks me. So I do have a couple of notes from my readers on, so I know the glare is annoying, so I may take them off at some point, but November 1st, 2020, so I'm out of the hospital, I'm at home. I have been rejected by the entire medical community at large. No one knows what to do. Everyone is trying to turf me to someone else, and I'm desperate, in pain. Nothing makes sense, and my symptoms were awful, and no one believed me. No one believed that I had pain. No one believed I wanted to pull my brain out of my skull because it was killing me. No one believed that I felt like I was going to have a nervous breakdown because I felt like my heart was coming out of my chest. I could not verbalize things very well. It's kind of like my nursing education went out the window. And bottom line, I thought I was going to die. And I thought I was going to die in pain. And it was horrible. So, quite bluntly, the journalist asked me, and I'm going to have to put the link to the article up at some point. She asked, are you a drinker? Were you a drinker? And how did you cope? Was alcohol something that you used? And I said, the funny thing is, night shifters, we have our lives flipped back and forth, so it's not uncommon for us to have a beer at 8 a.m. And my mom I remember she could never get used to that. She was very put off by that habit. But working in trauma and working in the ER and having, the worst was having a CPR or something come in right before you had to go home because your adrenaline was just through the roof, and it settled you. And my mom never got used to that. So I said to the journalist that beer was kind of always there. It wasn't something new, but I definitely drank more than I had before, because I couldn't fight with another doctor. I couldn't argue with another doctor. My phantom symptoms in their eyes, I just couldn't do it anymore. So definitely increased my usage. Not crazy. It wasn't crazy. But I drank often, and I wasn't working, so I didn't have anything to distract me. It was just me trying to deal with, what in the hell do I do? So it's kind of hard to, become an alcoholic off of Coors Light or Corona Light. That was what I drank typically. Even if I drank a 6-pack, I would get mellowed, but not hammered. But to someone who doesn't drink at all, to see someone who needs it to relax, it's a problem. And fighting that stigma on top of, do you see what I am going through? I don't know what else to do. So, when I was alone, then the weekends my son would be with his father and my mom would be at her apartment. Those were probably the worst, because I would just be alone with, what I would later find out was POTS. So the reason I felt like my heart was coming out of my chest was because it was. My heart was running a marathon that I wasn't participating in. POTS is stands for tachycardia, postural orthostatic tachycardic syndrome. So randomly my heart rate would go to 140s, 150s, and I would get anxious. Anyone would. And so didn't think to check my pulse rate. Not yet. I did though at one point. So that added to my symptoms, and the nausea that I couldn't manage, so I wasn't eating. I wasn't full on drinking my calories like an alcoholic. I was still consuming food, but it wasn't what I should have been doing to maintain a balanced diet. And that was my recreational activity because I was in pain and I was miserable. And sometimes I would have vodka too. I had nothing to do, nowhere to go, and I feel like I am going to die. I have the worst headache, probably having a stroke at this point, but I know I'm not. So, it was just horrible. So, it must have been Halloween night that I made a phone call that I don't recall. But I woke up the next morning, November 1st, and started drinking right when I woke up because I remember it was very bad how I felt emotionally. Waking up and still having symptoms that were just out of control. I really was at the end of my rope, and it must have been, I don't know, 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'd already started drinking, and I hear my phone ring, and I usually mute it. My phone's usually on silent, except when my son isn't with me, and I keep it with me at all times. So I looked, and it was my friend, and thought, oh my God, something must have happened. So I answered it, and she said, open your door. And I said, what do you mean? Open your door. What are you talking? And I said, what are you talking about? She said, I'm at your door. Open your door. She said, we're not leaving. We'll bust in. But you're coming out of your house one way or the other. And I thoroughly confused, but opened the door, and they were standing, her and her husband, my very good friends. I've known them for decades. They came in and, of course, saw the beer. It's the weekend, and I don't have my kid drinking. And they sat down, and I remember her husband was like walking around the house, and my house looked like someone who was having a mental crisis. Doing laundry was the last thing I cared about. all I did was wear the same thing over and over and just do one load of laundry, and you know, so it just looked like a tornado had gone through. And she told me that I called her the night before, and I said, no, I didn't. And she said, yes, she did. So I get my phone out and I look at the call log, and I did call her, and it was a good 25 or so minute phone call. And she said, I couldn't understand you, and I thought you were having a stroke, and I was so scared. I didn't know what to do. And I said, it didn't that there's no way. I had no recollection of this happening. So I said, can't be. And she said, it is. It happened. What did I say? Why did I call? What was the reason? And she said it was just flight of ideas. So, she said our other friend was on her way. And she and I are the same person, except she's in a teeny tiny body, and I'm in a tall body, and we still exhibit the same amount of fierceness and scare people just by looking at them. And she was on her way. Great. They said, we're taking you to the hospital. And I told them, I'm not going. I'm not going. I said, you can think about doing whatever you want, but I'm not going. I'm ready to die. I'm not going. So at this point, my other friend shows up. Ever the nurse, pulse ox in hand, checks my oxygen saturation, and my heart rate was through the roof, and she gives me the same speech. We're not leaving until you agree to come with us. And intervention style, I was pissed off because I wanted to just be done with it. And I said, no one believes me. What is the point? And my friend said, we believe you. And you don't have to say a word. We'll do all the talking. And I said, I'm gonna get discharged, and I'm gonna be in the same boat that I'm in now, and I can't take it anymore. So you can see above my head my son. 2 pictures, and this one is with my dad. Didn't know I would need tissues. I didn't even think about that because I thought I was gonna lose my life anyway, that it was inevitable. So I wouldn't be here for him. And I said, just please let me die. And they wouldn't let me. So my first friend that showed up asked for my phone. And I instantly, I don't know how, but I instantly knew why she asked for it. At the time, a doctor that we had all worked with was very high profile on the news, the infamous COVID hunter, Dr. Joseph Verone. The man was Catholic, he would be up for saint status. He was constantly on the news, talking about COVID and the idiot aspect, honestly, of exactly what I was discussing, that I'm not going to another doctor to be told this horrendous information that I'm a drug seeker, I don't have these symptoms, they'll go away, drink more water, maybe you're dehydrated. I mean, it was just wonderful to be told and know that my heart rate goes from 86 to 150 when I stand up. I don't know why you don't see that doctor. It's perfectly, and finally when I was able to verbalize the symptoms, clearly it's POTS. Stupid. And POTS is so simple. You take a beta blocker, your heart rate comes down and stays nice and low. No one to figure that out. That's an option. I think I only have this. So she asked for my password. passcode? No, not giving it to you. Because she knew I had his phone number in my phone. And she took it, put it in front of my face, and I heard her step over in my dining room and she went to talk to him by the front door, and he was on speakerphone, and he said, "Christine, listen to me. If you don't get help, you will die." And I said, "I don't care. No one believes me. No one cares." He said, "I believe you." And at the time, he was at a hospital across town, and he said, "If you can be at my hospital at 1, I will be there and meet you there, and I will take care of you." So, I could never say no to that man. So I went and took a shower. My friends, God only knows what they did. And I got dressed, and my friend said, "Don't you want to pack a bag?" And I said no, because it's gonna be the same BS, and I'll be home by tomorrow. Boy, was I wrong. Very wrong. Glare was getting to be too much for me. By the time I got there, I had crashed in my friend's truck, passed out, and when we got to the hospital, Dr. Barone was there meeting with me, and he just brushed me off, told me to go into the ER. He went outside and talked to my mom and my 3 friends, and told them what he was gonna do, and he said she'll be here for at least a week. He said, just from what I'm hearing, she is really sick, and I don't know how long it's gonna take to turn her around. And I remember I was sitting, because I was waiting for her in the ER, and I was sitting on this chair by the door, and I was looking at him talking to the group, and I thought, this is the last time I'm gonna see them. And everything was just matter of fact at this point. Just matter of fact. Yeah, it's the last time I'm gonna see him. So, a nurse came and got me, and I had a PICC line placed and meds, and they started one of Dr. Barone's protocols, and um, steroids and antibiotics and all kinds of medications and testing like you can't believe, none of which anyone suggested before, might I add. EEGs, EKGs, just CAT scans, just everything. And most of the nurses there had COVID, so they understood everything. And could sympathize with what I was going through. And that really made a huge difference, so I could ask them, what's up with this pain? A paper cut feels like my arm getting sawed off. I would rather, though, get my arm sawed off than have a paper cut. Weird, bizarre, crazy things like that. And I finally found people who could relate to this. Some of them were hospitalized, they're taken care of by Dr. Verone, and varying times, some couple weeks, couple days, months, and I just couldn't believe no one thought to do anything before this. And my thinking, it's COVID fog, but it needs to be changed. I had multiple falls with head trauma. Not all of them were, not all of them led to a hospital admission. And this is over the time frame of my illness. Not just in the month, but it started severely from the jump, so you can imagine a year into it. I couldn't find my words. I didn't want to talk because I stammered and said, I said to one of the nurses, if this were a drinking game, every time I said, people would die because of how bad my thinking, neurological status was. And it was deteriorating rapidly. The first couple of days I was okay. I remember it was a Sunday that I went in. Monday, because the idiot me didn't pack anything, I did like a delivery service favor, I don't know, some app to get someone to go to a store and get all of the stuff that I should have brought with me. So, earbuds. I had my phone. I needed a charger. Toiletries. I mean, it was ridiculous. So, I said to my nurse, I'm getting a package delivered at the front desk from whatever delivery service. Can someone go and grab it for me? Because they were in the full head to toe bunny suit garb, and I felt horrible if they had to take everything off to leave to go get the stuff that I should have brought with me. But at least I had what I needed. So I was good that day, and then went through a period of Awakenings, the movie. Robin Williams, Robert De Niro, where the light was on. Light was on, but nobody's home. And I was just staring at the wall. I don't even know. I think there was a TV. There was a window. Bathroom. But by far I was the healthiest patient there. So I would tell the nurses, hey, leave everything here. I'll hang the meds, like, because I wanted to help them. They were just so busy. And they were so appreciative, but of course that can't happen. And I was so sick. No. So, pain. Now, it's not just my knee, it's my back, foreshadowing, my back, head. I mean, it was just like massive. And the nurse would come in and I would be just staring at the wall and ask how, like hanging meds out, do you need anything? And I would just say, my back and my leg are killing me. My head, I had already had a CT, so we knew it wasn't anything stroke-wise. But I said, what is this? And they understood because they had had COVID and knew this weirdo pain. So I had pain meds ordered and got, thank God, pain meds. Because, I had to wait till I was vomiting blood to get pain meds from the docs. And then, all of the medications that I was on very heavy duty medications and very sick. So, this is not a reflection of the FLCCC protocol that was used on me by Dr. Barone. I started hearing codes ever the nurse. So the rooms, I had to be taken out when I had a CAT scanner, and I knew how the rooms, when you'd go down the hallway, were kind of zigzagged, and I was at the very end. He wanted me in the back, and because now I'm testing negative, and I'm still sick as a dog. Figure that out. So, I could hear the codes, and in my head, it sounded like it was coming in a zigzag pattern. The first room, then it went to the room across the hall, then it went to the room on the other side across the hall, and I said, the Grim Reaper is making his way down the hall. If I had holy water, I would have flung it and probably drank it. It scared me. And then, the room diagonal from my room, and just to show you joint pain. So, see this finger right here? Can't straighten it. Can't straighten it unless I force it, and it feels like it's broken. So, I have to have surgery to fix that. Tendon release surgery. Had it done on here, here, here. Oh, and I don't know if you can see the scar. Let's see. I'm horrible at this. Hello. Scar. Anyway, I have a scar right here. And this is from Mommy Thumb. The core veins tendonitis from holding my child in this position because he had colic. I remind him of that. I didn't sleep for months. Anywho, but another COVID complication, my joints are just completely inflamed. So, one of the nurses had come in, and the door, for some reason, had kind of slowly opened, crack a little bit, and I could see a corner of the room. Couldn't see into it. It was just I could see movement every now and then. And at the time they were proning patients, putting them face down on a pronator bed for lung issues. And so that's what they were doing, was moving him, very sick patient. I was listening to the chatter, couldn't hear really anything, and I was kind of messed up because of the meds. But I knew he was sick because there was a lot of activity and a lot of different things going on. And as before they were going to prone him, other things were happening, and I realized that he was the last patient before me. If he died, I was next. The Grim Reaper, in his zigzag pattern, would be in his room next. So that's why they were working so hard. So now it's time to do the proning, and a nurse came into my room to get a cord or something for the monitor, and the door opened a little bit more, so I was able to see activity again. Not the patient, I could see the bed, I could see it flip, I could hear chatter. I don't care what language, I don't care where you are. A code is a code is a code. CPR. 3 minutes of chest compressions, push-up beat. And that had started. And I thought, yeah, boy. So I'm listening to the code, and I'm doing it with them. Push this bed, chest compressions, check the rhythm. And I took out my phone and I started to record myself. Now this I have no explanation for. which is why I now believe my friend that I called her and have no recollection. So I am recording myself watching and saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, counting the chest compressions. Hold, check the rhythm, push EpA, start again, and at one point in the video, I have my phone down, and you see, as I'm going down, you see a glance of the room, and I stand up and start to walk to go and help them, because you can see me walking towards the door, and then you see the camera jerk, because I was tethered to IVs, equipment, and that kind of snapped me into reality, and I said, ugh, I have to be in there. This is the ICU. Yes, they do codes, but the ER does codes. We have to run codes by ourselves. The nurses start codes before the doctors get there. We respond to codes. We have to know everything. I need to be in there. Meanwhile, I'm limping, can't move my leg, and my back, I'm walking like a 90-year-old, and out the window. Just, oof. So I sit back down, and they, in my head, I don't call it, meaning don't stop. And they did, they ended it. And I remember I freaked out. I have taken care of my fair share of psych patients and have something that that psych patients like me. I think it's just this understanding, and I'm so monotoned, and I don't come across as judgmental, and sometimes flat affect at times. And but the problem is I have horrible, when COVID only made it 20 times worse, anxiety, horrible anxiety. So knowing that I'm next on the Grim Reaper's list now is freaking me out. Because how do I prepare? What do I do? What's he look like? Is he going to be holding that big sigh when he comes in the room? Does he float? Does he walk? Is he going to have a tattered clothing thing going on Does he have a face? Is it a skull? Will he say anything? How does he kill you? Or is it just his presence? I mean, I am full on prepared for it. So my nurse comes in to check on me, and I'm hyper ventilating, and I can't get a word out, and I'm a minute away from a panic attack. And I'm starting to freak. And she said, "What's wrong?" And I said, "The Grim Reaper is coming here next, and he's gonna kill me, and I don't know what to do." This poor nurse. So she goes and gets Dr. Barone, and we communicate full conversations. It's like charades. We can communicate with our hands, like sign language, or eye contact. And Dr. Barone, as I'm now in a full-blown panic attack, waiting on the Grim Reaper, he gives the signal for vitamin A, which is also known as EpA, a sedative. I saw that occur, but I didn't process it. And then I'm telling him, there's nothing you can do. It's the other world. It's Dante's Inferno. It's something you can't stop. And as the person's pushing the Ativan, he's telling me, "I'm not gonna let you die. Look at me, Christine, look at me. Look at my eyes. I am not going to let you die." The van kicks in. And I'm calm. But I still thought, I'm next. That was Wednesday. By Thursday, it was like a rose blooming. Totally different person. Labs were amazing. All of the studies looked fabulous. Dr. Varone couldn't believe the turnaround. He was amazed. Couldn't believe it. It was almost, I gotta recheck those numbers. This doesn't make sense. So he said, if we recheck the labs and you're still holding on, and tomorrow you're still good, we may cut you loose, because being in that hospital you have more of a risk of getting sick and getting something you don't need. So the sooner I could get out of there, the better. And I knew that. I was back in my body and my brain. And he was ready to get me back into home. And the next night, I was back home Friday. And I followed up in the clinic until everything, my labs and whatnot looked good, and medications look good, and I did that for a month and was discharged from that hospital's post-COVID clinic. And 4 weeks later, guess where I am? Back in the hospital. Admission number 3. So, I made it through that one. It was a tough one because I had a nurse at a facility ask me when I told her the story of my friends showing up for me, and they have many times over. How does it feel to be so loved? And for someone who has questioned that, their whole lives, I finally could answer it. And I know that I have 3 angels who have walked this horrendous road with me. And I can never repay them, so this is my love letter to them, because without them, I wouldn't be here. They've had to do this about 4 times over the last 4 years, so they're the best. And I'll discuss cutting people out of your lives. These I will never have to. So, and I've had to cut shockingly many people. So, these are good eggs. Peace in the Middle East. Hopefully soon. God bless.